Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Coming up, we're going pheasant shooting with gloriousgunsonpegs.com. We're out on a new piece of stalking ground with Roy Lupton in Hampshire. It's absolutely knee-deep with roebuck. It's like the Seren blooming Getty. Now, Switzerland Tourism rang me up last week and said, how would I like to go fishing in Switzerland? I said, I don't think it's the sort of thing the viewers would really be interested in. They said, how would you like to go fishing in Switzerland with Miss Switzerland? Miss Switzerland. Schwing. Well, I said if I had £1 for every viewer who rang me up and said he wanted to know more about the caddis hatch on the River Darla, I'd be a rich man. Tell me about what you used to do with your dad.
Well, we used to wake up really early, go on the lake in Lugano and just sit there and fish, and we used to be very good.
Now, Lugano, for British who don't know, is like a small sea, isn't it? It's huge.
The sea in Lugano is huge, but we used to go in a tiny sea where there were more fishes, so yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And then the other thing Switzerland does really well are these little rivers that you've just been on.
True.
Did you ever go up there with your dad?
We did. I actually used to swim in this very, 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 very cold water. It's not bad. And we used to sit there and speak, and he taught me fishing. It was sweet. Yeah, Switzerland has amazing venues for that everywhere you go.
It's not something which Switzerland markets itself as doing, but most Swiss seem to be keen on fishing. Is that right?
Well, it's quite true. I mean, lots of my friends usually go fishing, but they also are very protective about nature, so not everywhere you can fish. Sometimes it's really prohibited and you have to find the right spots. Here in Lycabad, there is a lot of spots where you can fish, actually. And plus, there's a lot of untouched nature, so no one's gonna really control you.
And you have that thing, you go for a lovely Swiss walk and then suddenly at the top of the mountain there's a lake full of trout.
Yeah, it's true. Lakes are everywhere, rivers are everywhere, like it's a water country. Mountains and water, yeah, true.
Seriously though, the fishing here is good. It is very concentrated. The rivers are at the bottom of the valleys along with the roads and the people. It's about 900,000 parts per million of chocolate, cheese and Swiss. If you want to get away from it all, that means you've got to walk. And walking means mountains.
Steep scenery makes it all worthwhile. The steep scenery also produces water that travels at several speeds, so you have to judge your cast carefully if you want your fly to go at a natural rate. Fast-flowing water means tangles are common.
Now I did have some luck. I found fish, and first of all I put the standard issue, I don't know what to do here, a little grey wolf on, and that produced absolutely nothing. So I moved to the, well, maybe the nymphing, because he did actually roll over at one point. Little pheasant tail, this number here, and that too, nothing at all. So I thought, well, although he hasn't run up from one of the big lakes, because he's separated from the big lakes here, I'll tell you about that in a minute, I've put on a sea trout fly and just see what happens. Blue Zulu, bang, straight at it, break me. After a hard day's fishing, you can come back to your luxurious apartment for breakfast. Let's see if there's anything hot in the kitchen. Darling?
Switzerland's big lakes hold trout that behave like our sea trout. They run up the mountain streams to spawn, but they can't get up the Darla River to where we are in Lycabad, because Lycabad has something unusual: hot springs. People come here to take the waters. The water comes out of the ground at 51 degrees centigrade, and the local hotels have to cool it down before they use it in the swimming pools. It makes the Darla far too warm for trout. Happily, it attracts rich people to wallow in it, and they are so rich the local council can afford to spend tax money on stocking the river above the time with trout, not to mention providing Xenia as the voice of angling. If you would like to see more of her, visit www.xeniaonline.com. What a great ambassador for Switzerland she is.
now the glorious gunsonpegs.com. Free to shoots, free to shooters, and they're shooting pheasants in the south of England.
Newick Park Hotel and Country Estate offers a friendly, driven shoot over 250 acres of glorious, undulating Sussex countryside. It offers relaxed days based around the hotel. Over breakfast, shoot captain Mike Shields outlines the day.
Right, welcome chaps, welcome to Newick Park. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the eastern boundary, come up on a drive called Piggery, we'll come round the wall garden, we'll come down to the main garden, we'll do the river drive, and then we've got a plantation at the back. So we'll do 5.
It's been a family shoot for many a year, and we've kept that theme all the way through. And I think walking around the park, and we do walk everywhere, has been a great sort of plus for the shoot. People describe it as being shooting nooks and crannies, walking around and enjoying the sort of the topography we've got. And you've got to have guns that actually enjoy that sort of day.
Co-owner Lucy Cummings describes some of the drives around the estate.
So we'll typically start with the a first drive, which is an open drive up towards a hill, birds typically coming quite high over. The next drive is from is driving part of the garden in, including the 4-acre walled vegetable garden, driving the whole of that. Some over guns who are standing in a valley, some towards guns standing in a field round a corner. The next drive is the rest of the garden, guns standing either side of a valley, shooting up above each other. And then we move into the wooded area where we get some nice snap shooting in the trees. And the next drive is around a plantation, again, a little bit more open, but again, that nice woodland feel.
She and Mike believe that the shooting should, above all, be enjoyable. They take the catering side of the shoot days seriously and make sure their guests have a good time. It's 11s and time for Guns to discuss the drive so far before a drive in the most wooded part of the estate, known as the plantation. Shooting here demands quick reactions.
And then once we get further south, we're then into the hilly area, so we're getting some quite nice high birds whizzing over.
The energy of this young Labrador knows no bounds. Bags here are usually around 150. There is no overage charge. The price includes breakfast in the hotel, in the library, 11s and a hearty lunch. Shooting here ranges from fairly straightforward to testing. The days have been fixed to permit Guns to book a day at Newick with a second day at nearby Isfield, staying overnight at the hotel.
At Eastfield Place, we run a shoot. We have 300 acres of our own land and 600 acres that we have shooting rights over. So we have a bigger block of land to shoot. But exactly like Newick Park, you walk between the drives. Similar head count, so we guide 150. What we've advertised this year for the first year is back-to-back shooting, so that if you want to book 2 days running, and we've advertised Friday and Saturday because we think a lot of people like that combination, that you can book into the hotel on Thursday night, shoot here on Friday, stay Friday night, and then move over to Isfield for Saturday. I've been to many high bird shoots, and the local equivalent accommodation that you've had to stay in has been bed and breakfast standard, but to come and stay in a place like Newick Park, which is a 3AA star hotel, but it's only, the stars don't tell half the story because it is just like a home. It's like a big country house home. That's what it feels like. It's an enlarged family day. That's the way that we look at our shoot at Isfield and the way that we look at it here. It's not an aggressive, high, big bird day. Obviously, if people want to shoot more, we're absolutely delighted that the birds are there. We will put the birds over. But typically we find we get a lot of shoots like today where there are some very inexperienced shots on there. But they were safe and they all had a good time. So that's why we don't regard the head count as the be-all and end-all of the shoot.
We've been running the shoot now for about 18, 20 years. The first 2 seasons were sort of rough shooting. I'm very fortunate to have a keeper who is actually our estate manager now. Basically, Steve has got a fantastic love for rearing birds and the game life generally. He stalks, he basically keeps our fox control down. He's a great man for the country life. If we didn't have him, over 255 acres, we couldn't shoot this as a shoot that we have today. The shoot is actually there to support the hotel, and Steve knows that. And that's what he does. And because we've got him, we're not like a 2,000 acre sort of commercial shoot. We shoot this to support the hotel. The guns that come to us need to understand that we're not a 2,000 acre estate. We are exactly what we are. And if they want that type of shooting, this is ideal.
The principal quarry is pheasant, but there is usually an opportunity for some duck later in the day around the lake, which is close to the house and a lovely way to end a shoot day. Indeed, with a beautiful Grade 2 star listed Georgian house at its heart and views of the South Downs as well as the lake, this is surely one of the prettiest places to shoot in the south of England.
Now last week Roy Lupton took on a new stalking estate in Hampshire. Let's see what happened next.
It's not often you get a chance to stalk on ground that has been left to lie fallow for a couple of years. Today Roy's been invited to an estate in Hampshire to take out a young roebuck as the population needs a little bit of management. First up, he needs to zero the rifle. A sandwich box is enough for Roy to play with. He knows his rifle took a knock the other day and he has loaded his own ammo, so it's sensible for him to make sure. On someone else's ground it pays to double and triple check you're happy with your kit. You don't want it to be a one-miss wonder.
Touch to the right. That's what I thought. Right.
2 shots through the same hole. It's looking good and Roy is happy.
We've got the grouping, so that's 2 bullets through the hole there, or 2 rounds through the hole there, but obviously we're sort of half an inch over to the right hand side. Again, this is why I like checking the rifle whenever we go out, especially after you've had a long car journey, because the scope can get knocked, even with a very good scope. If people are not careful and they throw something on top of your rifle or whatever else as you're packing the vehicle up. I mean, obviously we're only talking half an inch there, so when you're stalking, etc., it's not going to make a huge difference. But I just checked and we've now just recorrected it, so we should be smack in the centre.
Game manager Keith gives us a tour of the ground so we get our bearings. There's more than deer here. The hare population gives Roy a cold sweat. Nope, it's the rifle today, Roy, not the golden eagles. Saying that, we do have company. The young goshawks need babysitting and feeding, so they've come along for the ride. Back to business and we spot our first buck. He's on the corner of some woodland with a doe in tow. We drive around the corner and get ready to stalk across to it. However, in the meantime, the doe has moved and is now on sentry duty. To add insult to injury, the wind has changed direction too.
What we've got here, just on the corner of the wood down here, the deer have started to come out this evening and feeding in. And it's always the way, isn't it? Best laid plans and all that. The deer that we're after was tucked around just the corner of the wood out of sight, with the wind coming directly up into our faces, and we were hoping to be able to cut down, come along the line of the wood and just intersect across into our deer there, but we've just come here to start the stalk, and looking down there the deer's actually wandered around the corner, so if we do try and approach it that way we're going to be walking straight into the face of him, so he'll make us before we get into him. So it makes it a little bit more complicated. So change of plan and we'll see where we go from here.
Back into the car and to have another look.
Have a look, see if you can get the other side.
There are deer everywhere, doe after doe, and then some kids. Then we strike lucky and we spot a good-looking buck on the other side of a field. We get rid of the car and work our way round the headland.
Okay, we've got a buck there that's just coming down here. He's about 250 yards at the moment. What I'd like to do is try and get a bit of a closer shot on him. But as I say, he's working the way down. We're pinned here at the moment because there's a young buck just over the rise here in front of us. So what we've got to try and do is see if we can get closer to the, well, either of the bucks. If this young buck comes out here, then we'll take him, but if not, then we'll have to try and work into this other buck that's working down the line here. So we'll just try and get in a better position.
It's a longer shot than Roy wanted, but he really doesn't think we can get any closer. The buck moves along the edge of the crop and offers Roy a clean shot. The bullet strikes. The buck runs.
Okay, so we had good reaction to shot. So we've got a heart shot on him. He's just gone to the right and it should be a few yards just into the right hand side there.
Time for Roy to bring out Cooney. We know which direction the buck went in, but with the crops so high, it's a great opportunity for the dog to work.
What we want to do here is just go up to the outshot, see exactly what we've got, and then we'll come back in and trail the beast down. But yeah, the buck jumped up in the front end and took off. So that's normally an indication of a heart shot. So, but what I want to do is just try and find where the deer was. We'll try and find the out spot of the blood and then hopefully follow him in.
There is no apparent blood trail, but then the nose picks up the scent and our buck is found in the long grass. It's another clean kill.
Good girl. Here we go. We've got him. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. What you got? Good girl. Good girl. There's a good girl. There's a good girl. Good girl. Good girl. There's a good girl. And there we have it. Well, thank you very much for having us here today, sir.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Most appreciated. But,
Lovely colour on the antler.
he is. No, he's a beautiful, young to middle-aged buck there, isn't he? So, coming up very well. And a very good body size as well. He's got a few ticks. And, you know, as always, when you're stalking, you always have to be aware of Lyme's disease. You know, it is something that can affect stalkers and has affected stalkers. So, it's always worth double checking yourself when you get home and making sure that you are tick free, because they're not nice little beasties. They can cause a lot of problems. I've got a lot of friends over on the continent throughout Europe, and again they're very mindful, because I know one chap, a doctor over there, suffered from Lyme's disease, and it's caused caused him an awful lot of upset, and it really does affect your health quite badly. Out of all the deer species, I think roe deer are my favourite. It's what I was brought up on stalking, and still to this day they're definitely my preferred beast. They are absolutely stunning. No matter what time of year you're looking at them, especially in summer coat, they really do look absolutely gorgeous. And they're a very nice handleable carcass as well. You know, whereas if you're dealing with fallow, then it's a heavy old beast to deal with. But roe are nice. You can lug them about quite easily.
This is the first time we filmed a buck that's been shot by Roy that has run. So why did it?
He was a fair range. I don't really like going past that sort of distance for a shot when we're out stalking, but there was no other way of getting any closer to him. So obviously when you're watching the shot reaction, you could see him jump, his front end lifted and he jumped forward, which indicates normally a front end heart shot, which is what we had. But the shot I prefer to go for, because it normally drops the deer on the spot, is a slightly higher shot than I managed on that one there, where it takes out the top of the heart and the lungs. With that shot, it was straight into the bottom end of the heart, and with that kind of shot, then you normally do end up with the animal running 50 or 60 yards before it drops, as we had in that case. So he just went round the corner and dropped off. But as I say, normally with the shots, I do prefer to take a slightly higher heart-lung shot, and that results in an animal dropping on the spot without the need for tracking up on it.
With the buck grannocked and skinned, Roy lets the babies out for some fresh air, a stretch of the wings and a bite to eat before the drive home.
Well, we're back next week. This has been Fieldsports Britain, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, which is about, there, I think. I usually get in the wrong place. Or go to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv, scroll down to the bottom where you can pop your email address into our constant contact form, or like us on Facebook, same place, or follow us on Twitter, and that way we can tell you about our wonderful programme which comes out at 7 p.m. every Wednesday.